when I meet a prospective client or I'm introducing myself at a conference or
Mhm.
at a speaking engagement, I'm tailoring that story to that audience. So I think that for me, it's figuring out very intuitively what does this person mean and how can I sell myself and my story in a way that's going to resonate with them.
Welcome to Girls Make Bank, the podcast show for women who want to learn the art of selling for business and for life. I'm Jack White, seasoned sales professional, entrepreneur, and owner of Honeybees Group. Come back each week to hear inspiring stories from some of our favorite business owners. Learn how to take the ache out of selling and make bank. We're all in this together, so let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Girls Make Bank. Today, Julia Lynch is joining us, and Julie and I were connected by a mutual friend, and we had a great conversation, and I immediately knew I wanted her to come and talk to all of us because I'm kind of fascinated by how she is building her business and how she is helping other women think about telling their stories and building their businesses. So, Julia is a career and a personal brand strategist and a content creator. She works with people very early in their careers, all the way to senior executives. And I am so excited to have a really fun and easy conversation. Julia, welcome to the show.
Awesome. And love that we're chatting from uptown across
Yes.
different sides of the park. And sometimes meeting digitally makes things easier and excited to dive in today.
Yes, Julia and I both live in New York City on, like she mentioned, different sides of the city, but not too far away, actually.
Yeah,
So it's nice to see you. For those listeners who don't know who you are, give us a little background as to, who you are, what you do, and then actually how you got started because you have a non-traditional sort of career path into
okay.
doing what you're doing now.
Absolutely. So I grew up in northern New Jersey and was always a writer. And I thought that growing up, I wanted to be a writer. And I actually had the opportunity to intern for HarperCollins publishers at age 16. Long story short, an editor saw my op-ed in one of the local newspapers where I was talking about how I didn't like teen books. And I was criticizing them from the point of view of a teenager because I thought it to be a little bit juvenile. And she didn't see that I had braces on in my photo. She wrote a really nasty op ed response, kind of reaming me out because she thought I was in my 30s. And then I asked her to meet, and we had a coffee, and she was obviously flabbergasted that she publicly blasted a 16-year-old. And then she said, you know what? Come in the office and intern with us for the summer. And I thought I wanted to be a writer or an editor. And I love the work, but everyone was talking about how they couldn't pay their cable bill at the time.
Yeah.
They couldn't pay their rent. And so I thought, I think storytelling is always going to be a part of what I do, but maybe I can find a different way to do it. And I am very entrepreneurial. I come from a family business background. And so I've always thought about how can I marry business and storytelling together. So I like to say I was 27, living in my parents' basement, quote unquote, during COVID, still fully employed as a strategy consultant. And I had always been that person that people came to for career advice because I do have that storytelling background. So, Julia, how do you frame? I had my parents' friends in their, 40s when I was in high school coming to me and saying, hey, how do you frame this work email, this presentation? I want your point of view on this. And so I decided to start a social media presence unrelated to careers during COVID and just decided to start sharing things that I really liked and enjoyed as a 20 something in New York. And at the time I was fully employed. So decided as a volunteer initiative, I'm going to just put it out there on social media that if anyone's been laid off or furloughed due to COVID, I'm happy to help them free of charge. I'll redo their resume, I'll reframe their narrative, I'll connect them to my network. And that ended up as we recruited 65 volunteers. We were put on national news. And I wasn't intending to start a business out of this whatsoever. But then people were coming to me and saying, "Hey, you help my sister, you help my cousin, you help my friend. I want to hire you. I've heard really good things."
Yeah.
So it happens so organically. And so now my business is very different. Now I'm completely independent. I'm no longer working as a strategy consultant. I'm fully on my own and I absolutely love it. So there's a few different facets to my business. As Jackie just mentioned, I am a content creator. So I have a large presence on Instagram and Substack. My handle is smarter in a sec. And really, my aim as a content creator is to make my audience smarter every day in some way. And I like the mix of intellectual content as well as what I call like sharing links and sharing value. So, really, my content is a mix of articles that I'm loving, podcasts that I feel like you should listen to, AI trends because it's always on our mind. But I also link this $45 Target dress that I'm wearing right now that I think every woman should own because I think it's really cute. So I really am aiming to provide value every single day. And that's resulted in me building a very engaged following. And then, as far as the services side of my business, I'm a career and personal brand strategist. So, on the career side, I work with people at various stages of their careers, whether they're Gen Z and they're very career confused and they're not sure where to go, what their path is. I'm helping them define that through networking and storytelling, right? What's their story? How is their skill set matching with the marketplace? Right? And also, how do you network and how do you build social capital? Those two factors are extremely important to find not only a career for today, but to future proof your career. And so, other kind of client archetypes that will come to me, I have been in corporate for 20 years and I want to launch a business. How do I do that? What's my roadmap? So,
Mhm.
I'm setting them up with a personal brand to market themselves through a pitch deck. What are your service offerings? Or I am looking to make a major career change. I've been in the workforce and really not liking what I'm doing. Can you help me figure out how to acquire a business? Do I do something else in the corporate world? Or someone who is more typical, they're in law, they're in finance, they're in a profession, and they just need a little bit of a level up and a boost to reach that next step in their career. That's what I'll help with. And then on the personal brand side, everything is storytelling, right? And I think storytelling really has been the thread throughout my career. And I work with senior executives and founders as well as public figures to help them define their narrative online. So, for instance, one of my clients is running for Congress, another one of my clients is in the reality TV world. So, I'm helping them define their presence online or build it from scratch, right? Because for anyone now who's running a business or even they're employed in corporate, they're waking up to the power of I need to be online.
Mhm.
So I've
Absolutely.
also worked with senior executives who, hey, I have been told by my company that I need to be more visible and present on behalf of the company. So figuring out what that is, what the pillars are, what the platforms are. So my career has a bunch of different facets, but I really like the mix of all of them and everything that I do makes me stronger at the different pillars. So it really is a portfolio because everything is unified under one umbrella and every single pillar is informing another pillar.
So I love, first of all, let me break that down a little bit because I love that you built your brand online during COVID by basically goodwill and wanting to help out,
Yes.
right? Because that was a time that was dark for so many people. It was,
Yes.
the whole world was on fire. And I love that that's where you got to build your, personal brand. And it sounds like that's when you sort of shifted from working in corporate and realizing that, hey, I can do this and make money, right? That was the sort of catalyst that helped launch your own business. So I love
Right.
that. And I appreciate you doing that. And you just mentioned, right? You do a lot of different things. And you said portfolio, the portfolio of things you do. And when we were talking previously, you mentioned this idea of a portfolio career, which I have heard people say portfolio career. And I've always thought of it in terms of well, I did this thing in the beginning of my career. Then I shifted and I did this thing next. And then I did. So I'm looking at the portfolio of my career around me doing different things at different times that maybe stacked up or didn't. You're talking about a portfolio in terms of all of the different things that you do right now, which is kind of counterintuitive to how we
Right.
tell people to build a consulting or a coaching business where you niche down, you do one thing, you have a very clear offer suite, and you've really bucked that trend in a successful way.
Mhm.
Can you tell me more about how you think about being deliberate building your portfolio, you know, company, or has it really been organic?
Yeah. So I would say it really has been organic. Now, I'll say that building a portfolio career means that I, when I meet someone or when I meet a prospective client or I'm introducing myself at a conference or
Mhm.
at a speaking engagement, I'm tailoring that story to that audience.
Right,
So I have a client who is in finance and he's in his late 50s. He doesn't, it's not relevant to him that I'm a content creator. That's
right,
not relevant to him. What's relevant is that I have worked with other people in his age group in finance across a variety of institutions, right? So I think that for me, it's figuring out very intuitively what does this person need and how can I sell myself and my story in a way that's going to resonate with them. Because if you're someone who we all deal in multitudes, we're all multifaceted people. And I think that the niche is important, right? I'm a career and personal brand strategist and breaking that down into the pillars, but sometimes that encompasses social media. Sometimes I'm doing executive coaching, right? So I do a variety of different things, but I think it's really about if this is a path that you want to go down and you do want to do a variety of things, know that you're gonna have there's not gonna be a singular pitch that's gonna resonate with someone, and you're
right.
gonna have to kind of reinvent yourself and think about what's gonna resonate with that individual every time you meet someone.
Yeah, and that's right. And so how do you do that? How do you make it relevant right off the bat? Is it knowing the setting you're in? Is it knowing, okay, this is how I found someone? Because I do
Yeah,
think a lot of people like the idea of a portfolio career and a portfolio company. It's that messy middle of, how do I not throw up everything I do every single time I talk to someone? I think that's where people get hung up on it.
yeah,
So I'd love your take on, how
yeah.
how you do that.
So I think for me, because I have a social media presence, I'll say that I do buck the trend of I don't really sell through social media. And I'll
Mm,
explain what that means. I've realized that to be a successful creator that someone comes to every day for value add information, I cannot be putting up a Calendly link, work with me, work with me, work with me
right,
every single day. Then people are not going to engage with me and see me as a person of value,
right.
right? So I very intentionally only mention my services once a week or once every 2 weeks. And also, from a lead gen perspective, if someone is coming to me through Instagram, they likely have followed me for a long time and they know me, right?
Yep,
So they know the variety of things that I do and they're okay with that and they see what that brings to the table. Now, I think that if you are someone who wants to build a social media presence and I think that there's a little bit of a fear factor there if you're a service-based entrepreneur, right? Is that unprofessional? Do I
right.
want someone knowing about my personal life? Well, I think that there's a balance there. I do share about my personal life, but it's in a very professional manner. I just
Yep,
got married and I love sharing all of that stuff, but I I'm not in the stage of having kids yet, but I don't feel personally comfortable sharing my future kids' faces. That's just a line that I believe in.
yeah.
So I think that it's a way to connect personally. And I think a service based entrepreneur who does that very well is Patrice Pulitzer. I'm not sure if you know
Yes.
her or are familiar with her, but
She's amazing.
everyone should follow her because she does a great job of really leaning into the personal, making it engaging, making it funny. And then you get on a call with her and you know her intimately and you know the
Yes.
value that she can bring. So
Yes.
I would say that if you are trying to be a service-based entrepreneur who also has a social media presence,
Yeah.
you really need to double down on your expertise and be providing value in that niche versus using it as a lead gen consistently every single week because then people are not going to engage with you or view you as someone who they have to follow or engage with their content.
Yeah. And so if someone is starting to build their personal narrative and they
Mhm.
feel like they don't have a big story yet, or it's hard for them to kind of find their voice and their perspective, or even find the balance of what are they okay sharing publicly and what do they want to keep close to their vest. Jess Milanis, who is a dear friend of mine and the podcast producer for Girls Make Bank, she talks about it in terms of what's personal versus intimate. And that
Right.
is really like defining for me. How do you suggest your and how do you make recommendations to your clients when they're starting to build their personal narrative and they want to start creating content, but they don't yet know what that looks like?
Sure. So I think if you would not feel comfortable sharing it with close friends at a dinner table,
Yeah.
then that's too intimate to share on social media. But at the same token, vulnerability really sells. I think we're in the era of
Yeah.
these chat
Authenticity.
GPT
Yeah.
like generated narratives where everyone and their mother is waking up to, oh wow, I really do need to be visible on LinkedIn if I'm a service-based entrepreneur, even if I'm working in corporate, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna throw something into ChatGPT talking about what's a trend in my industry. Here's the POV. People are not going to engage with that. I
Right.
would dig deep and think about, okay, now that I'm XYZ years into my service based entrepreneurship career, maybe I can open up on LinkedIn and talk about the time that I got fired and that actually forced me to start my business. If you know Baked by Melissa, she's
Yes.
very open about the fact that she got fired and
Yep.
that really propelled her to start her business. So, was there a tough moment that you had to look back on that was a learning, right? And I think
Yeah.
building your brand pillars around that and also shareable content, right?
Right.
We're in an era of content. You don't even wanna know my screen time. I'm sure your screen time is also really high, but how can you create content that makes someone say, "I have to share this with a friend.
Right.
I'm really interested to share this with someone else." Because I think people create content based around their niche and they can be so deep in that they're not taking the bird's eye view and saying, if I was any random Susan scrolling, would I find this interesting or compelling? And I think that's the missing piece for a lot of people who are trying to build on social and share content is what makes people care.
Right. I agree with that. I want to dig a little bit into your business because you do buck a lot of the suggested recommendations in terms of how people build consulting or coaching businesses because you don't have a rigid offer suite and you have multiple lines of revenue. So take us a little bit behind the curtain and tell us, what are the different lines of revenue that you have in your business? How have you developed them over time? And then what does your quote unquote, like if it's not an offer suite, if it's not set packages, like how are you pricing and packaging things
Mhm.
for your clients?
Yeah, so a few different things. I'll start on the creator side of things. So I recently started working with a manager for social media. So because I've reached a certain level of following and engagement rate, she's now sharing those rates with
Mhm.
brands and saying, "Hey, this is Julia. Would you want to partner with her?" So she's bringing me opportunities in that way for
Yeah.
me to connect with brands. And so I also have brands that are coming to me inbound. I just completed a partnership with Steward. They're an amazing estate planning company that connects you with a lawyer, and for $3,000, a lawyer will complete your will and your healthcare directive and all of that. So that's very values aligned with what I do. So it was a
Absolutely.
no-brainer partnership. And so there's also the affiliate link side of things. So through affiliate links, through platforms like Shopify and Amazon, I do generate revenue, but I would say the revenue that I generate through affiliate links is probably 10% of my overall monthly
Mhm.
take home,
Yeah.
because in order to, so like I'll just give you an example. Via ShopMy, I'm taking home around $3,500 a month through ShopMy. That means that I'm generating $35,000 of revenue for brands that I'm linking through. And that doesn't include Amazon or like other
Right.
affiliates, but just as an example. And you know, that is great, but to reach a crazy amount of revenue, you have to be converting people left and right,
Right.
and also multiply your following dramatically. And I also don't want to be the creator who is what I call a link shiller, right?
Right.
Like
We
shilling
all
so
know,
many
right.
links.
We all know who that is,
Right,
right.
exactly. Like that's not necessarily what what I want to be doing. And so that's definitely a nice passive quote unquote income, although it's
Sure.
it's not really passive. Like I am sharing content and there is time to create that, but
I love when
it's
people say passive content and they throw it out there as if people are just making money by not doing any work.
no.
Every quote unquote passive revenue stream requires
Yeah,
you to do
exactly.
work. It is not passive. I think that whole idea is so bogus. It either costs money because you're running ads or somebody's running ads for you, in which case it's just arbitrage. And it's
Right.
not to say you can't make a lot of money doing things like that, but this idea of passive, I always laugh when people say that
Yeah.
because not
It's
everything
not
is work. If you're making
right,
money, it's work.
exactly. It's not passive, but it's not it's not income that
S-
I rely on,
Right.
because that can go up and down, and during the holiday season, people are shopping more and more and et cetera, et cetera. But
Yeah,
then, January, February, purse strings are tight. And so
sure.
as far as the other lines of my business, let's start on the career side. So someone is coming to me and saying, "Hey, I need a brand new resume, cover letter, LinkedIn," and I don't necessarily have budget to engage with you for a longer period. So I'm meeting with them for 1 hour. I'm doing their resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn. That's a flat fee. And then that engagement is over. So I'll do that lower tier engagement for people who are not able to hire me for necessarily coaching.
Right.
Now, on the coaching side of the house, usually those women are currently employed. They're looking more perspective for their next step. So for them, I'm saying we're doing a set number of sessions. I'm giving you very detailed action items and homework after those sessions. Usually it's around 5 or 6 that is part of the package. And then I'm doing your resume along with that. So
Yep.
that's a set package that after that engagement is over, then they can choose to re up. And then I also have packages where someone needs to engage with me for more time. So it's 6 months of partnership. So we'll do a flat fee for 6 months of partnership, and then they'll choose to re up later on. This is more on the career side of the house.
Mhm.
And then on the personal brand side of the house, either someone is hiring me for a monthly retainer and saying, "Hey, I'm running for Congress. I need you to be helping direct social media strategy, help a little bit with comms, helping with LinkedIn at a high level for a certain number of months. And so therefore I'm able to give a competitive rate if someone is committing to a 6 or 12 month retainer. So I do have a few personal brand clients on retainer. And then I also have individuals who are founders and maybe they don't have the budget to do a retainer. So I'm more engaging with them for 1 or 2 sessions. We're building a little bit of a playbook. And then there's a little bit of the interim where it's, hey, I'm maybe launching a business. I'm not sure how to market myself. That person is not a monthly retainer client, but they need a little bit of something in between a 1 or 2 session and a retainer. So there's a little bit of that in between.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of ways that I engage with clients. And on the personal brand side of the house, I will partner with a shooter and an editor and kind of integrate that into the monthly retainer if that is something that a client needs.
Yes.
But sometimes it is, they just want my support on an advisory perspective. And sometimes they want things a little bit more intensely and they want kind of content and social to be baked into that.
Yeah. You mentioned that you don't do a lot of book a fit call with me on Instagram, that's not your main place where you're actively promoting your branding and coaching, career coaching business. Where are you finding those prospects and where do those clients come from?
As a service-based entrepreneur, I'm really about authentic network building. And that's always
Yes.
something that,
Love, love.
yes, that's always something that's been core to me.
Yeah.
And I would say that even though I have an online business and I am visible online, probably 60% of my business comes from offline
Yep.
because my perspective is like Instagram and Meta will always be there. Mark Zuckerberg needs the mortgage paid on
Yep.
his house in Hawaii. Like that's
Yep.
always going to exist, right? But algorithms change. But in my opinion, relationships and the offline is so, so critical, right?
Yeah.
Because there's that trust factor there. And that trust factor exists online because if someone has followed me for a long time, they know me, they know what I can deliver, and
Yeah.
there's that inherent sense of trust. But at the same time, I always aim to be a giver first and really giving of my connections, my network, especially to women who I meet. And that really has come back around. I'm an anti pitch person because, similar to you, Jack, if if I have to pitch someone, they're not a good client for me because then
Yeah.
they're actually not going to do the work, right? So it's almost, hey, here's what I do. How can I help you? And then if something happens, whether it's with that individual or someone in their network, it happens really organically. And I think that that allows the prospects to be more genuine as well.
Yeah.
I recently had a situation, and I'm sure you have had like strange situations with other entrepreneurs or networking where a woman invited me to the chief clubhouse. And I actually talked about this online and I got a lot of response. And she was a bit older. She was in her 50s or 60s, and she was also a career coach. And I love connecting with other coaches, right?
Yeah.
Because I love expanding my network. We are our expertise is our brain, and
Yes.
my brain can only focus on so many things. So I love referring business to other coaches who focus on other things. It's not a competitive thing, it's a collaborative thing. It
Yep.
truly is. And
Totally
so she
agree.
asked me to coffee, and I said, "Absolutely. I'm so excited to connect with you. How can I help?" And she sat me down and she said, I can tell you really need some help. And you need my $75,000 mastermind." And then she also said, "Oh, I was getting married in a month or 2 months at the time. Oh, are you gonna join your husband's business when are you gonna join that when you get married?" And I actually walked out of the meeting because I felt so insulted, but I will never refer
The
anyone to her
approach.
because she's a pitcher and
Yeah.
it's very insulting. And I went into it thinking, I want to help you. I don't even want to pitch my services. I just want to,
Yeah.
genuinely engage with you and
Yeah.
get to know you. But I think that I've encountered more and more individuals like that who are
Yep.
just, hey, I'm meeting you. What can I get from you? What
Yeah.
value can I
Mhm.
extract? And that's not how you build a sustainable business. How you build a sustainable business is being very genuine and open with your network and really just giving all that you can
Yeah.
and not even having the perspective of, "Oh, it's gonna come back to me in the form of XYZ." Just like, "Hey, I wanna help you. You're a great person."
Yeah. Yeah. And we call that pitch slapped. It's
Yeah.
when
I
you
love that.
know,
I've never
it's
heard
like,
that.
oh my
Wait.
gosh, it's like somebody just slaps you across the face with the pitch. And you're like, I didn't ask for that. And we talk about that a lot at Honeybee's group because I
Yeah.
think this idea of selling, first of all, people don't feel good about it. It makes them feel gross. And my whole thing is that we all have something to sell. And when you do it in a way that is about helping people and about like them getting results and you're coming at it from a place of service, you can feel really good selling because if we don't
Right.
sell, we're not making money, right? So we all have to sell. It's just a matter of how we do it. Number one. Number
Yeah.
two, I've been pitch slapped before. And I feel like saying, listen, girl, you need to hire me because you're doing
Right,
this
right,
wrong. It's like, I think a lot of people set up these like, let's have a coffee, let's do a connection call. I'm really interested to meet you and pick your brain. And really, what they want to do is pitch you. And that you said it. You're like, I'll never refer somebody to her because that is
right,
such a
right.
bad experience. And I would never want to refer somebody if I thought they would not have the absolute best experience with someone.
Correct.
So I totally know how that feels. Also so insulting. Like it's advice you didn't ask for. So
Right,
I mean, she just
exactly.
really like check, did everything wrong. But you mentioned it. And so I want like how what are the one or two or three things that you do every day to help move your sales forward in a quote unquote like not salesy way? I love the
Yeah.
in-person networking. I'm a relationship driven sales person, right? I think like human connection,
Yeah.
especially with the type of high touch work we do, very important, especially with women, because we can suss out like salesy people from a mile away. So if you're not doing
Exactly.
it the right way, we're turned off immediately. What are the 1 to 2 to 3 things that you do either, every week or every so day to kind of make sure you're moving those sales forward?
Yeah, so I think in terms of sales, I think that follow-up is key, but also at the same time, if I follow up with someone twice and they're not interested, then I'm not gonna push them,
Yeah.
right? Then that person or that company is not ready and they're not gonna be a good client of mine. It's like dating. Like if you text
If
someone
they
twice
want to
and they're
go, if
like
they want to take you out, they will make
right,
it known. Yeah.
exactly. So I think in terms of daily activities, I'm a member, excuse me, of a number of WhatsApp groups and Slacks, and I'm always if someone's like, "Hey, do you have a connection here? Does someone have" just today, for instance, someone said, "Do you have a connection to an attorney?" I referred them
Yeah.
to my attorney friend, right? "Do you have a connection to an insurance broker?" Because I'm self-employed, so I have my own insurance. I ended up making 6 referrals to my insurance broker, and then 2 of those women were like, "Oh, thank you so much. Like, I want to learn more about you and let's
Yeah.
hop on a call to trade notes." So I think that a lot of it is thinking about how you can add value to your network. And I think those online groups are a really easy way and low touch way to do that and kind of make yourself known as, hey, you're a person of value. So I really try to at least do probably 8 to 10 connection calls per week with people, whether that's a lunch, whether that is I'm doing a 30-minute call with them. And I also think that going to events is also a great one, but at the same
Yes.
time, also trading notes with female entrepreneurs in my network. Like, I really try to intentionally have a lunch at least once every 2 weeks with someone who's also working independently, who's a woman. I
Yeah.
had coffee
Yeah.
with a friend the other day who is a data strategist for startups. And you might think, okay, what do they have in common? But we actually have so much in common, trading resources, trading clients. So you never really know what can come out of those. And then I also think cultivating relationships with what I call your power refers.
Yeah.
Every individual
Absolutely.
has those people who are always referring the business in some way. There's overlap, but at the same time, sometimes on the surface there might not be overlap.
I think some of the things that you said that I love are the in-person networking and, thinking about it in terms of making genuine connections. I just did a call within my Honeybees group membership where we were talking about strategic planning. And one of the exercises I had everyone do is look at where their clients came from this year. And it
Mhm.
was really interesting for the people who brought on clients through referrals. It ended up being the same 1 to 2 to 3 people that referred most of their clients. Or they had a bunch of referral partners, but only a couple that those clients closed. And so I love that you said you really lean into those relationships because I do think those are really important. Where can people find you if they want to connect and learn more and have a fit call?
Yeah. So people can find me on Instagram at smarter in a sec or on Substack. And then my website is smarterinasec.com, where folks can book a discovery call. And then folks can also email me at smarterinasec@gmail.com and would be happy to meet all of you.
Great. And we are going to put in it's Smarter at a Sec Substack, right? Or is it Julia Lynch?
It's smarterinasec.substack.com.
Okay, great. We are going to put all of the links down below. This has been really interesting. I knew from the first time we talked that you were building like a super interesting business, and I can tell there are so many different components. So I appreciate you coming on, opening up the hood, and sharing what it is you do and how you do it. And I think it's been really fun. I appreciate it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Make Bank. If you like what you've heard, please remember to subscribe, like, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Please review and share our show to help spread the word and help your girls make bank. And I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or visit honeybeesgroup.co. Until next time, friends.